Hello there, welcome back to Beauty Beat. I haven't talked about new makeup releases in what seems like ages. I think it's been since January, maybe even late December. So, needless to say, I have a lot of releases built up. So, instead of going through a nicely selected list like I usually do, I think I'm just going to scroll through Trendmood with you guys and we'll talk about anything that piques my interest. And because I'm guessing that plenty of things will be piquing my interest in some direction, I'll just talk for half an hour, 35 minutes, and then cut myself off, edit it down, and that's what you'll see. We'll see how far back in time we get. There might need to be a part 2 of incredibly old tea makeup releases that I still haven't talked about. Let's do this. So, the first thing that I am seeing are the Colourpop Peeps Super Shocks. Now, I don't hate this idea. I think the colors look cute. It's an interesting little collaboration. But the thing that I don't understand is it's a week until Easter. It's a week and 2 days as I'm filming this. I think it'll be 8 days till Easter when this goes up. But Colourpop takes like 2.5 weeks to ship, even within the US. Are people going to be interested in this when they're receiving their orders after Easter? That doesn't make any sense to me. Number 2 would be these MAC lipsticks. These have quite the name. Let me look it up. These are the MAC Powder Kiss Velvet Blur Slim Stick. Now they're saying all the right words for me. We have the Powder Kiss, which is a formula from MAC that I really enjoy. The Velvet Blur, I've been loving these, honestly, sort of like the MAC Powder Kiss, these velvet, powdery, blurring lipsticks. And I don't know why they needed both descriptors in their name, and I love a slim format lipstick. These are very interesting. I kind of want to pick one up. I don't know how expensive they're going to be though. I bet they're going to be pretty pricey. And the real downside to me with these slim format pencils is that you do actually go through them. They tend to have significantly less product than a bullet lipstick does. And I find that with, say, like the Colourpop lippy sticks, I flew through those. And that's okay for a, what are they now, like $6 or $7 lippy stick? But for what's probably going to be a $20-ish lipstick, I'm not as okay with that. So I have nothing insightful to say about this new Dior collection, which is the Dior Riviera. I understand what they're trying to go for with that name, but I think it looks a lot better spelled out than it feels or sounds on the tongue. So the collection is fine. It's really nothing to write home about. The only thing that's popping out to me are these lipstick tubes. The denim one in particular is giving me so much of those Dior denim saddlebags from like the early 2000s. I'll put a picture up. And I can't say that I'm a fan of those, but I kind of love it. I kind of love just how tacky this Dior packaging looks. Not tacky necessarily in a bad way. Tacky can be fun, and I think this is fun. Alright, this post on Trendmood was raising all sorts of questions for me. This is Rock and Roll Beauty. This is a new brand that's inspired by rock and roll. And that jumped out at me because I'm very much a classic rock fan. But that's not what kept me looking at this. All of this is suggesting that there's a lot of capital behind it, and I'm not sure what brand is behind this or who the investors are, but several things are here. First, we have that they have a pretty good variety of products. It looks like they have 2 different palettes, some kind of brush set, nail strips, some cream products, it looks like, face palette, multiple makeup bags. That seems questionable to me to start with. That's a pretty large product range to launch with. Additionally, they were able to collaborate with Jimi Hendrix's estate, so the Hendrix estate would have needed to be paid. And they're able to launch at Ulta, which I think, I'm not 110% sure on this, but I suspect that a lot of brands pay for shelf space at Ulta. So, who's behind this? I'm really interested. I can't say that I'm super interested in the makeup itself or really the theming. I don't think the theming was particularly well done, but I want to know what exactly is going on behind the scenes there. That seems very interesting to me. And I feel like I don't know a whole lot about the business side of makeup. That would be something I'd be really interested in learning a little bit more about. Next we have the e.l.f. and Dunkin Donuts collaboration. I don't know that Dunkin Donuts has done a collaboration before, which shouldn't be surprising because why would a makeup company want to collaborate with a donut brand? But it's kind of surprising to me somehow. And I think that e.l.f. has done an okay job. I think that the pink quad is quite cute. It's really light. I don't think it would work for a wide variety of skin tones, but I think it's pretty and I think it would work well for me. I could see myself getting quite a bit of use out of it. And the fact that they did a coffee lip scrub, that's also pretty cute. I won't be buying this because I really don't like Dunkin Donuts. I lived outside of Boston for a summer in college and I didn't really like it there, and I think that's just soured my feelings towards Dunkin entirely. I know that that's not their fault, but I can't help it. I'm moving on. I need to stop this because I thought I was going to go really rapid fire and I just want to get into stories and things. But this is the Sunstalker Bronze and Highlight Palette from Fenty. And I don't get this at all. Like, I thought we were past these bronzer palettes or these big face palettes where any individual would only be able to use like 3 shades. Now, the 3 center bronzers are actually close enough in depth that I think there are quite a few people who would be able to use all 3 of those as well as the 2 highlighters. But I'm certainly looking at this from my vantage point, and I think I would be able to use the lightest bronzer, maybe the second lightest bronzer. I think that might be a stretch, and the lighter of the 2 highlights. This doesn't even make sense really for a pro because I don't think that you can pop out the individual pans and buy replacements, which would make it a really convenient little product for a pro, since they probably aren't going through the individual shades at equal rates. But for an average consumer, I mean, it is nice that these are eye safe. I feel like that should be standard for powder products at this point, to be able to use them on the eyes as eyeshadow. I know I always do it, whether or not they're marked as eye safe, but I don't know what's going on with this. Why does Fenty do these things? Kylie Cosmetics is doing another collaboration with one of her sisters. I feel like they've done a Kendall collab before. I think I talked about it in one of my new makeup release videos. Anyway, this is incredibly uninspired, and the palette, the face palette, is more interesting than the eyeshadow palette, which just looks generic. It looks like a color story that's been done approximately 4 million times over. But the face palette just looks like a knockoff Natasha Denona palette. That's all I can see when I look at this. And this is petty, I understand that. But they did this photo shoot with them surrounded by these like mauve lilac roses or just flowers in general, really, and wearing similar colored lingerie. But nothing in the collection is those colors. First of all, kind of weird to do a lingerie shoot with your sister. Just gonna put that out there. Maybe not that weird in that family, but in general, kind of weird. Second, why couldn't you just pick colors that were actually in your palette or your collection? Is that too much to ask? I don't think we've actually talked about any interesting palettes yet. And while I don't want this, I've got to say it is interesting. This is from ABH Norvina or Norvina. I'm not exactly sure what they call this brand, but this is the Norvina palette Volume 6. It has a row of shimmers, which look to be maybe even borderline pressed glitters. They look very shiny and very pretty. And then 4 rows of mattes. Now, this is not the ratio that I would go for. I tend to prefer a palette that is half to 2/3 shimmers and then like half to 1/3, a third to a half mattes. But I think that this color scheme is really interesting. It's very bright, it's very bold, it's very neon, but then at the bottom, it's anchored by these really deep shades. So you actually do have what you need to create depth. You're not just going full neon necessarily. I think that one change that I would make if I was in charge, which clearly not, so kind of a moot point, but I wish there was a little bit more variety in the shimmers. They're really all in this blue-gray color family, and there's so much other color going on. You have quite a bit of purple in this palette, you have pink, you have yellow in here. I don't know why they didn't add just maybe 1, 2 more shimmers and expand the color range a little bit. I feel like that would have been really helpful in creating a wider variety of looks, though clearly the intention here is that you're going to do very matte heavy looks and maybe pop on a little bit of shimmer, which, you know, is a reasonable way of going about things. It's just not my way of going about things. Tarte has been releasing a bunch of blush recently, and I'm kind of here for this. They've re-released their cream blushes, which I remember seeing all over beauty YouTube when I first started getting into YouTube, which was probably like 2013, 2014. I feel like everyone had these and they would talk about layering them under their powder blushes to make them last all day. And I don't think that I would be interested in these. I can't see myself purchasing a more expensive cream blush because I really don't use the cream blushes that I have enough to justify a more high-end one. But Tarte has also released a little powder blush trio. This is the Tartelette Blush in Bloom Amazonian Clay Cheek Palette. I feel like this is something that they probably should have released several years ago. I feel like this would have made a lot of sense if they'd released this in tandem with the Tartelette in Bloom palette, or, you know, very shortly after. But I also think that Tarte is one of those brands that's actually pretty good about keeping things in their range for a long period of time, and that they have quite a few return customers who maybe aren't as big into makeup in general, maybe aren't into beauty YouTube, aren't into switching things up, but come back to Tarte again and again. And I can see how this would really appeal to them. But at the same time, it's pretty enough that it also appeals to me, someone who has way too much makeup and is really into beauty YouTube and switching things up. It's really pretty. I don't think I'm going to purchase this because A, I have way too much blush, and B, I don't know that I would get a lot of use out of that deepest shade, but it's a really, really pretty compact, and I love the embossing on the powders. It looks really pretty. Can I just say that I hate that Fenty does this thing where they just release like one new color of their lip products at once. Like, why do you need to put out just one new shade of their Balm Heat? Like, what's the point in that? I feel like it would make more sense, be more convenient for the customer if they put out, you know, 5 shades of something to start with, and then a few months later, if that product did well, maybe add another 4 or 5 shades. This thing where they release one shade at a time is so obnoxious because it's so clearly intended to get people hooked and to get them to just be constantly buying one of something, because it seems more reasonable if you're going to be spending $24 on a lip product to buy just one at a time. If they released all, let's say there's 6 shades at once, not too many people would buy all 6 for $144, but you know, you spread it over 6 or 7 months, release one at a time, I think a lot more people will buy all or nearly all of those products. So I said I don't know why they do it. I know why they do it. It just annoys me. That's a little bit more accurate. Ooh, let's talk about the one thing in this video that I actually do own already. This is from Sol de Janeiro, and this is the Beige Fleur Elastic Cream. This is the new pink one. I was drawn in by the pink packaging. First of all, this is a very pretty shade of pink. And second, by the name Beige Fleur, because I think I actually need to double check this, but assuming that it is roughly a cognate with Spanish, this would be a hummingbird. I love hummingbirds, and I am not disappointed in this at all. I mean, I only have a mini from Sephora. It was one of those items that you can get with your order if you enter a code, so it's not like I really spent any money on this, but the scent on this is gorgeous. It smells like flowers and sunshine mixed together. If you had like an actual lei, like a flower necklace full of gorgeous bright pink and orange flowers, I feel like this is what that lei would smell like if you really got up in there. It's not overwhelming. I think it's actually a lot less heavily scented than the Boom Boom Cream. I mean, it's not light. It's just not crazy scented, but the texture is beautiful and the scent is gorgeous. Cannot bring myself to spend $40 plus on a lotion, but if I could, this one would be in my cart right now. And I think that my camera's about to cut me off, so this is actually really great timing to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have or are planning to purchase any of the things on this list. I would be really interested in knowing your thoughts on them. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Please consider liking and subscribing if you did, and I hope that I will see you in the next video. Bye!